Gentlemen, you can't fight in here. This is the war room.
Welcome to the Cornhusker Corner with Blake.
Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
And Brooks.
Is mayonnaise an instrument?
And you better bet your bottom dollar that these two brothers know how to handle business.
Here is a hand up to Thunder, who gives it back to Mike Stokes. He's going to throw it. He's got a man out.
All right, welcome to the Cornhusker Corner. It's having a lot of technical issues. We're still learning. Where there's no place like this podcast. There you go. As always, we're your host Blake and my brother
Brooks.
Brooks is a little out of town today. For those of you watching the live stream. So what's with that background?
I just thought I'd mix it up, give it something distinct. These are I think the photographs that telescope photographed very recently, full 4K images of some sort of space and nebula. I don't know what it is, but I think it looks cool.
You started to sound really smart there for a second. Yeah.
Well, I don't know what I'm talking about. I don't need to sound smart when it comes to space because I'm not. So,
yeah.
But yeah, I just thought I'd rock with it, and we're just gonna see how it feels. I might change it back. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. So it's kind of interesting. Bye week. Here we are. It's game week. I didn't know Illinois had a bye week too, by the way. I found that out this weekend. I was like, Oh, okay. Both teams are going to be fresh. One team's lost one game. So that's kind of how I'm feeling about it.
Yeah. This is going to be the battle of the coaching staffs, really, because it's all about how you manage, your bye week. That's a big thing as a head coach, because you can really win or lose off the bye week. I just want to give you all a reminder while we're here to go ahead and subscribe and like to the podcast. If you like what we're talking about, if you like the vibe, just go ahead and give us a subscribe, give us a like. We enjoy doing this. So yeah. And also the Twitter will be popping and the Instagram will be popping in the future. We're going to keep posting. We're going to keep tweeting for Nebraska updates, live tweeting during the game, Blake or myself, random thoughts, anything like that. Follow us on Twitter at Cornhusker Corner and on Instagram, Cornhusker Corner page. All right.
There you go. So, housekeeping. Got that out of the way.
There you go. We're getting the hang of it. And who else is getting the hang of it is Mickey Joseph. He's getting the hang of his new position as interim head coach, and he's 2-2. He's 2-2 as an interim head coach at this point. In my opinion, I mean, really, you could call it 2-1 because that Oklahoma game is it was a bad showing, but I don't think we would have won either way with just considering the circumstance. However, he's undefeated off of bye weeks, which means 1-0.
The one, yeah.
But that's important because, like I said, I mean, it really does go both ways. When you have that much time, you can either sit around, twiddle your thumbs, and get worse as a team. Genuinely, that can happen. Or you can get better and move forward and be fresh and ready to go. And they were against Indiana. So,
yeah, I will say that they looked a lot better coming off a bye week after Oklahoma. It wasn't hard to look better, honestly, after that game. But they had a lot to go through for the new defensive coordinator, new scheme, which is basically just taking out a lot of what the scheme was, but just how are they going to tackle? How are they going to do fundamental things and stuff they have been doing better? We're kind of hobbled with some injuries, especially at linebacker. We'll see. We have players, we have dudes. They just have to show up and play, really.
Right. We talked about it last podcast. We were on the ball with this one, but it's official. Nick Heinrich is out for the season, which that sucks, man. He was just starting to play really good too. Those last couple games, he was really starting to show up for us. which is unfortunate because he had a tough first couple of games. Had an injury in the Northwestern game, I believe, and then was out for a couple of weeks. And he didn't have a great showing in that Northwestern game, so he left a lot of bad tastes in people's mouths. But then he came out and really after the bye week into the Indiana game, and the Rutgers game and the Purdue game, all three of those games, he had a couple. I mean, the Indiana and Rutgers especially, he played really, really good against both. So it's really tough to see. But like Mickey said, man, people got to step up. It sounds like we're going to have Reimer back, which is like, thank God. We really need him to step up. Really need him to step up. I mean, because he's good. He can be that JoJo Domann role on this team. He can be everywhere. I mean, he's not the nickel, but you know what I mean. He can be everywhere, especially against a team like Illinois. That's a run-heavy team. I mean, Luke Reimer is going to be in the thick of it this week, so I hope he got healthy and I have faith in him. I think if he's playing at the top level, he can be a real asset for our defense, and maybe we could surprise a couple people this weekend if he really plays well.
Yeah, no, for sure. And the defensive line, they're going to have to come this week, especially with the run. Even more so than what we said about Indiana is very much so in play on the defensive side of the ball with Illinois. Take away their run, and they haven't really shown that they can do it all that, effectively.
Right. Well, yeah, right. I don't think they don't have a passing game that could be the show. You know what I mean? They have a passing game that can hurt you once you're stacking the box and really selling on the run. And Tommy DeVito's, he's good. He's worked out for them so far. He's been a relatively efficient quarterback. He's coming back from injury. He'll be healthy coming into this week for the first time in a while. But their tool, their big tool on that offense is, of course, Chase Brown. And Chase Brown is their bell cow. I mean, he gets so many carries each game. We're 7 games into the season. They're 6-1, so they're 7 games into the season, and Chase Brown has over 1,000 yards already. Sorry, I'm looking them up on.
Yeah, you're good. Yeah, no, and he's basically been their offense. Like if you just look at it in terms of that. Their run game is their offense.
No doubt about it.
That's like Brett Bielema. That's like, what the kind of football that he coaches. Really, they kind of want to slow down and they want to control the game with the line of scrimmage. And Brett Bielema, we more special. Oh gosh.
Yes, I hope not.
Yeah, that's
let me look at their stats. Okay, so let's see. Chase Brown, he has 192 rushing attempts on the year so far. That's what I was really looking for with the stats. He has 192 through 7 games. What's 192 divided by 7? Could you do that for me real quick while I go over some other stats? He has 1,059 yards, averages 5.5 per carry. Now, the average makes you raise your eyebrows because 5.5 yards per carry is a very, very good average. I mean, no doubt about it.
27.4.
So 27.4 carries per game. I mean, talk about a bell cow, man. Yeah. Talk about a bell cow. And they've had games where they've given the ball 40 times in a game. Yeah. So it hasn't always been, anyway. So he's really their guy. If we can shut that down their run game, then honestly, like we could really win this game. I mean, and not only win it. But that's a big if, because we're talking about a guy who, like I said, already has 1,000+ yards through half of the year. And when you have a running game that is like that, and as I display down here, the Brett Bielema Halloween Horror Special, where does that come from? Where does that come from as a Nebraska fan? That comes from the fact that Brett Bielema, over the years with Nebraska, has seemingly just had his way with us. And I was reminded of that in game 1 of last year when he comes in with a completely different team, Illinois, and they win. And admittedly, we made a lot of mistakes, muff punts, turnovers, all the penalties, all that type of stuff. And we could have won the game. But they weren't a bad team. they played hard-nosed football even game 1 of his tenure. And he's a great coach for the Big Ten. I really do think that. And so, I mean, we all remember what happened when he was at Wisconsin, 2011 with Russell Wilson. That was him, I believe. And then, yeah, that was him. And then 2012, we beat him. We beat him when we were healthy by 1 point. Good game. If it was a bit of a comeback win, if I remember right.
Yep.
And then later on the same year, conference championship game, Brett Bielema walks into Indy. Bo Pelini has a decimated D-line, and he's halfway out the door trying to go to Arkansas. And Brett Bielema comes in and wins the game 70-32 or 31 or something like that. It was an absolute romping. Brett Bielema ends up being the coach at Arkansas. It doesn't work out for him there, and now years later, he finds himself at another Big Ten program at Illinois. Now, he's in year 2, and he knows what he's doing as far as building a low-key, hard-nosed front 7 and O-line. The dude is a great line developer on both sides of the ball. So that 1,059 yards that Chase Brown is getting and an average of 5.5 yards per carry, he's a great back. He's an NFL back. But they're a great O-line as well. So like you said, our D-line is going to have to bring their lunch pail. They really are.
Yeah, they're going to have to come to play. And, just judging by the past couple games, there's one guy on defense I just want to talk about, and he's so close to being just a game wrecker. He's been putting himself in better and better and better positions, and you've been noticing him more. And that's O'Shawn Mathis. He's been putting himself in a lot of really good positions. He's made some plays here and there, but you have the feeling as you're watching those games back that he's so close to just, really getting in the flow and taking over a game. He's playing a lot better than, the entire defense is really playing better than they were at the beginning of the season, but he's putting himself in better positions to make plays.
Agreed.
So, yeah.
I mean, he's got the intangibles. The dude's got the tools. I mean, that was never disputed. Okay. But when you get to college football at this level, especially with everything considering, I mean, he came from the Big 12, which when you're an edge rusher in the Big 12 playing a different defense, it's just a completely different style of play. It just is. They have a lot of speed on the edges, and they're going to spread the field out. So you're playing a lot of contain, and you're playing a lot of you know what I mean. You're playing a lot of soccer football. Yeah, is what it starts to feel like. But in the Big 10, it's not like that. It's not like that. You have to be able to squeeze the edge, and you have to be able to hold contain, and you have to be able to support on runs, and you have to be able to cover out of the backfield as well. And O'Shawn has the tools to do that, but it's an adjustment. And I hear you. He's really started to, I feel like as the games have gone on, I just see him more and more and more, and in a good light, because early on I would see him here and there in a good light, but then I'd be like, oh my God, he missed the seal. That was because of O'Shawn. You know what I mean? Here and there.
It would be kind of like a, where is he kind of thing. Right. And then, and now it's kind of like, there he is.
Absolutely.
And now it just has to be, there he is.
So. Right. Yeah. I mean, look, if here's my thought process. If we can make them somehow one dimensional, if we could shut down the run somehow, then boys are going to eat. They're going to get some sacks this game, because if they get into situations like, say they're down a score or two and it's a 2nd and long, 3rd and long situation, passing situation, don't care what type of team you are. And they're going to eat. They might get a couple sacks because you got Garrett Nelson on the other side as well, and he's nobody to slouch at as well. He's a solid player. He's not TJ Watt, but he's a very solid player. And O'Shawn's a great compliment to him. So I hope they can break out. I hope Luke Reimer can show up for the game.
Yeah, and luckily these people that are replacing Heinrich in the second level and there on the defense, they've had a lot of experience this year, just because of injuries. It's not like they're getting thrown into a game now where they have to learn. Hausman's got a lot of play time. Who else is there? I'm blanking.
The young guys, Ativa Maga Clement has got a lot of play time.
Yeah, he's got some play time,
and he plays hard. I like how he
Yeah.
plays. He's not got the greatest numbers on paper as far as how big he is, how fast he is, stuff like that. But he plays hard. I want to get to a couple things. There was a couple things that happened today. Mickey had a press conference. Casey had a press conference. Mickey said a couple interesting things in his press conference. Especially when it comes to Trey Palmer. I really want to just start on that, the Trey Palmer quotes. He talked about Trey, and let me go ahead and share my screen here.
Yeah, and I have some thoughts on Trey Palmer after he talks about this. But
right, okay, so guarding Trey Palmer.
Expecting teams to really go out of their way to make sure that doesn't happen again, and how do you combat that with some extra time to think about it?
Well, we if you look at it, you had a really good game, but you would think that Illinois they're gonna do what they do, and they play man coverage, and they might try to bracket him, but I'm sure he's gonna get more attention for the game that he had.
Okay, I have a couple more. What happens if Trey is double teamed?
Well, it's probably a situation where I went through at LSU. About the fourth game of the season, they started doubling Jefferson, and then Chase went off, then Terrence Marshall went off, then Clyde Allaire went off. So we're going to have options if they take Trey away. If they try to take Trey away, there's nothing we can do about it. But the other guys know they got to play football if that happens.
And then one more, and then we can just sort of talk about Trey. Okay, I'll start here. Trey Palmer's speed.
Top end speed towards the top of the guys you coach.
He's the fastest.
Faster than all those.
He's faster than all those guys. Yeah.
Why wasn't it able to click for him at LSU like it is right now?
Well, I think because Justin Jefferson, Terrence Marshall, a lot of NFL guys were in that room, and over there you had to wait. You had to wait. And so he was in a loaded room. If you look at it, all those guys are in the league. Racey McMath, Derek Dillon, Stephon Sullivan, all those kids are in the league. So it was clicking there, but you had to really come to practice every single day and get it done. If not, the next guy was going to pass you up. So I think he grew up here. He grew up and he matured here when he got here, and he understand, okay, this is what I need to do to get better. Because remember now, Trey's been the best player on the field from the age of 5 all the way to 17 until he got to college. So it's hard for him to I got to compete every down now. Jamar had to learn that. Terrence had to learn that. Jefferson had to learn. They all had to learn that. And Trey just happened to be in a room with some first rounders.
yeah, I mean, and we all knew that. That's why I think that I don't know who asked that question. I think I thought that was a bad question. I like the way he handled it, but that's a bad question. Guess what? Yeah, look at the room. Look at who he was competing with.
Right.
I mean, Justin Jefferson. He was up for Offensive Rookie of the Year. Jamar Chase, had a breakout year on a team that a breakout rookie season on a
took
team
a year off and then had a breakout.
Then that went to the Super Bowl.
Right.
So yeah, that's why those guys were older.
It's just the striking thing to me is that he said that Trey is the fastest receiver that he's coached. I mean, just think about the guys that Mickey has coached. That is really saying something. I mean, and it just blows my mind because, like we've talked about, doesn't look that fast. Really doesn't look that fast. Very smooth. And I know we've harped on this point, but geez, is he really that fast? That's crazy.
Yeah, you think that, and then you see him out there running past dudes that aren't slow.
Right.
But yeah, I think the thing that I liked most from what we just kind of played there is what are they going to do to shut him down? And he's going to draw a lot of attention because of the game he just had against Purdue, and really just the year he's had. But especially the game against Purdue. And he said, we ran into that at LSU, and then this guy showed up, and then this guy showed up. And then you look at our offense. We have some guys that could step up too, if especially at the wide receiver position. And like we've been talking forever. A guy that is always around, but he's kind of under the radar, which is Alante Brown. That dude can catch the ball. He's shifty. He's quick. He always makes a good play when he catches it. So if he's open, he's going to make a play. Anthony Grant, if we can actually like run block a little bit, get a run game going.
Well,
guess
block,
what?
that's the key phrase, right? I mean,
yeah,
we're both talking about wide receivers stepping up in the absence of maybe Trey getting double teamed and getting extra attention. But at the end of the day, what we both know is who really has to step up is the offensive line. And Casey and Mickey had a quick quote on the O-line that I'm going to go ahead and play. He it's JUCO lessons from Coach recruiting. Okay.
I think the JUCO part is really important because you're getting the kid coming out of system. You get a kid coming out of portal. He's transferring for a reason. JUCO kid, you're recruiting him just like a high school kid. But a portal kid, he's transferring. He's a reason he's transferring. So you got to do more homework on a portal kid than you have to do a JUCO kid. JUCO kid, you can go to the coach and say, hey, you've been having it for 2 years. Tell me about it. But when a portal kid, now we got to go all the way back to high school to see what's the problem with this kid. Why is he transferring?
Hang on.
I did.
Recruiting is the interim.
This thing over. It's that we're going to do things the right way. We're not going to sabotage the program. We're going to go out and work like we're going to be here. So we send our coaches out. I think they were in California, in Massachusetts. You know, I was in Atlanta. I was in Arizona. Fisher's in Florida, Dallas. So we went out. We went out as a staff. We kept the coordinators in. You know, the offensive defense coordinators in. But we're going to recruit and, you know, find the pieces that we need. You know, and so we're going to go heavy JUCO when it comes to the offensive line. You know,
that is what I wanted to show you. We're going to go heavy JUCO when it comes to the offensive line. So I think that we've debated this endlessly when it comes to offensive line as far as, is it a talent issue or is it a coaching issue? And I think, and this is just my interpretation of it. You can, you know, obviously give your thoughts, but I think that maybe this was a bit of a slip up by Mickey, a Frostian slip up in the sense of, if you're an offensive lineman currently on the roster and you're reading him say that, do you read it as an indictment on your own talent in your own room? Right? Because he's already talking about going out and getting JUCO linemen. I don't think that's a bad strategy, by the way, but do you say it? And I don't know. Like we said, the offensive line has to really step up, and Mickey knows that, and that's why he's thinking about it. But what do you think?
No. Just no. I don't think if you're looking at that as an offensive lineman, see, because you're still going from the mindset of, you know, a kid's going to go in the portal because if he can't play. They know that they're bad right now. They know that. Right. We don't have to say that. They know from the play, and they know when they do stuff wrong and how, and they know how to fix it. It's not like they're not trying. Getting good depth behind an offensive line is something that NFL teams struggle with. Okay. So it's not just a Nebraska issue. I mean, so we had the Eagles just had a couple of linemen go down this past game. Well, before this last game. And we had a little bit of depth behind there, guys that could just plug holes here and there, but they were surrounded by guys that were confident in themselves, confident in what they were doing. So it didn't really show rear its ugly head. And that's a lot easier to do in the NFL, just is. But same concept for Nebraska. We don't really have that. We have a couple guys that are pretty damn solid, but an offensive line has to work as a unit. And right now they just kind of, they've had a couple drives where they look just amazing.
Yeah.
And you're just like, where is that all the time? Guess what? Those are big dudes. They're probably freaking tired because of how fast we've been going and just the way our offense has been playing. You know, I don't know. So
it's like if you look on the depth chart, they released a depth chart. It's actually pretty crazy when it hammers your point home fully, because Doc's diagnosis, top spot, depth chart. All right, I'll pull it up right now. Take me 5 seconds. The offensive line depth chart. So, offensive line depth chart, Illinois week. So, come on, load. 5 million ads load before the depth chart loads. All these websites, man.
Yeah.
One thing I noticed, especially about the depth chart, though, was that, yeah, here we go. Bet. Okay, so right guard, you got Brock Bando or Henley, I'll start at left tackle like I'm supposed to. Left tackle, you got Turner Corcoran at starting, Brant Banks as the backup. Left guard, you got Ethan Piper as the starter, Brant Banks as the backup. So Brant Banks is backing up the left tackle and the left guard on the depth chart. And then center, you got Trent Hickson and then Ethan Piper backing him up. So Ethan Piper, the starting left guard, is backing up Trent Hickson, the starting center. So he's got 2 positions basically. And then the other ones are oars, which means they got a rotation pretty much.
Yeah.
So I just found it interesting that it's like there's not even what is it, 5? There's not even 10 different names. You know what I mean? It's like 7 different. It's like 6 different.
Yeah, and part of that is like Proshka's out for the year.
Sure. Yep.
Newilly just being ineligible. He was going to be a starter. So those things, and you couldn't really address it then when it happened.
No.
So there's some of that, but there's also. I don't think it was a priority to build up that room like it was trying to get skill players.
Yeah.
They
They need a Russian athletic trainer. That's what they need.
They need a Russian.
Yeah, help them pass some of them tests.
Jeez. All right.
Another piece is this week before we dive fully head on into Illinois and what we think is going to happen and all that stuff.
Okay.
2 more quotes I want to hit on real quick. So Malachi Coleman committed. He is the top prospect in Nebraska in quite a long time. I think ever at the wide receiver position. And it's a big commitment for Nebraska. And here's what Mickey had to say about it. Malachi.
Right. We got Malachi, Yes. Well, he said it 6 months ago he wasn't coming here. So you put the pieces together.
Oh, you gotta love that.
I know, man. Basically, he said, I'm the reason that happened without explicitly saying that. I mean, I just find that hilarious. And we knew it was coming. Malachi hadn't visited any other schools. Or he had done one other official visit a long time ago to, I think, Georgia. But his only official visits that he took as of recent were to Nebraska. And over the last couple of weeks, he had tweeted a number of times the picture of him standing next to Mickey. Malachi's like 6'4", 6'5". I mean, he's a tall dude, and he's standing next to Mickey with his hand palming Mickey's bald head. It's a funny picture. But yeah, so we saw that coming, and that's a good thing, and it's a testament to Mickey. And I think another testament to Mickey that I saw today, that there's the last quote of press conferences I really want to get into, was from Casey. And Casey said some things that really hit home for me as far as the impact that Mickey has had as a interim head coach here. You can tell he just really, really connects with the guys. So let me go ahead and bring that up. What makes Mickey Joseph great?
What's your perspective, your observation of Joseph these last 6 weeks? Just how he's stayed home, obviously getting a lot of eyes on him.
I like Coach Joseph because he brings good energy. He's very detailed and organized. He's very intense and he's passionate, and he brings the best out of everyone. What I like about him is when you walk in the building, whether you're a player or a coach, everything you do is going to be evaluated. Anybody on staff has to do their job, and he holds everybody accountable, and I really like it. I enjoy it. After a win, he's always I mean, almost every day we talk and we meet, and he tells me what I need, what he needs from me as a quarterback and as a leader. And I appreciate him because he pushes me. He gets on to me. You know, he probably coaches me. You know, him and Coach Whip, they coach me just as hard as any coach I've ever had. And they get on to me a lot. And I kind of grew up with my dad on me a lot. And my dad, like I said, my dad was with me when I was growing up. So I'm used to it. I'd rather a coach be more demanding and more aggressive and be more vocal about what they need from me instead of being passive. And I mean, at the end of the day, I'm still a college student. You know, I haven't made it to the pros yet. I'm not a coach, so I don't know everything, and I need to have that hard coaching. I think Coach Joseph does a good job with me, holding me accountable, and the rest of the team, and also the coaches as well. So I like him because he brings energy and passion. But I've been most impressed with him because his organization and his discipline. I mean, every week he's holding guys accountable off the field. If we have guys that miss things, whether it's meals or workouts, or if they miss class, or you know, if they're not on time to something, everyone's held accountable every week, and there's punishment and there's consequences for it. So I really like what he's doing, and no matter what happens next year, Mickey Joseph, he'll always have my respect, and you know, I want him to be around for sure.
Yeah, man, I think that speaks volumes. The thing that jumps out to me immediately is sort of the last little bit of what he said about him being impressed with Mickey's organization, his discipline, and his accountability. And I think that's a really important trait that a coach needs to have. And if you're noticing it, like if you're like, oh, wow, this dude is blah, 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 you know, it makes, don't want to harp on the past, but it just is like, man,
Yeah.
that sounds like the opposite of the previous administration. It really does.
Yeah, it does. And, you know, as we were sitting there, and I was listening to it, you can tell because that's how Mickey treats the media too. He's very much so the same person. I think you see that. So it doesn't surprise me at all. But I was sitting there thinking too, I mean, most of this season now, like if you look at Husker media and all this other stuff, and they're looking at, you know, who's the next coach, the rumor this, rumor that. And I don't really follow it. I knew you'll send me stuff sometimes, but I'm like, the season's still happening. That's going to work itself out. It's just boring to keep talking about it.
Well, and you're also setting yourself up for disappointment.
Yeah.
Too, you know what I mean? Because you'll speculate. You'll pick the perfect guy of what you want. And then Trevor goes in some direction. You'll be, oh, what the hell?
Yeah. And so, but like the season's still happening. We could still go to a bowl game. And guess what? Mickey just hit the metric that Scott couldn't to keep his job. And if we keep making improvements, if we beat somebody we're not supposed to, who says that it's not Mickey? And then you waste all your time talking about it. So I just wanted to throw that out there as a thought I had. And I don't think we'll really talk about coaching search until the season is really over.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I think it's also a result of how good of a job Mickey has done in winning over the hearts of Husker fans.
Yeah,
I think
the football season interesting again.
Yeah, totally, and we're totally on board with him, and we want him to succeed, and that's a testament to him. So at the same time, if it was the opposite of that, if it felt like the ship was going down, and it felt like, oh no, this ain't the guy.
We need something to cling
Yeah, we
to.
would all. That's all we would be talking about is coaching speculation. Let's make that clear. Mickey has won us over for sure. So last couple of things, and then we'll give a little prediction. So we got to stop the run game. We gotta open up our offense. Our offense has got to open up. Trey's got to have a big game, but it's got to be more than just Trey. Our offensive line's the big key factor to this game. Offensive line in front seven. Wow. A Big Ten game. It's almost like you could do the same preview with every team, with slightly different names every time. But yeah, so do you have any other thoughts as far as preview things Nebraska needs to do?
No, but I do know that you're going to know really, really early what kind of game this is going to be. You see a long run get broken off in the first quarter, game's over.
Yeah,
I really do think it. I really think the game is over. Because just how that demoralizing that is. I mean, so you'll be there, right?
I'll be there. And I want to say a point to that.
Yeah.
You said big run could be demoralizing. I think that I have a lot more confidence in this coaching staff's ability to keep the morale up and to make adjustments. And I think that this team, if they've shown anything these last couple of weeks, it's that they don't shy away from adversity, and that they can make adjustments. Finally, they're not, jumping on top because they had a whimsical little scheme for the first quarter and then get out coached for 3 quarters, which is what a lot of, what I mean?
Right.
It's the opposite. You know what I mean? It's the opposite.
Right. You're right. It has been that way the past couple games. I'm just saying you'll be able to tell very early because you're going to be at the game. We went to the Oklahoma game a couple weeks back. After Gabriel had that run, you felt the energy go out of the stadium. And before the game, like there was pretty good energy. When we drove down and scored, guess what? Great energy.
Mm-hmm.
That one run on a 3rd and 12 killed the energy in the stadium.
Totally.
And it has the potential to do that. It just does. Because if we had beat Purdue, no way that does that. But it might be one of those things of another compounding loss just creeping into the fans. I'm not even talking about the team. Team might respond fine, but the fans need to be there and keep the energy up if that were to happen. And
fans are an important factor in this game. No doubt about it.
Yeah.
No doubt about it. I think that the thought process on your point about Gabriel's run in Oklahoma is that that was a different team at that point in time. Mickey hadn't really even gotten time to implement his cultural changes yet. And we've seen the result of what those cultural changes could look like. So the thought process is a big run like that won't wreck our team's morale like it did back then. Now I really think they're going to have a chance to prove it, because I think there is going to be a big run or a big play or I mean, this is a good team. We're going to be down in this game at some point. And the real key is how we're going to respond. So we'll see how that happens, but I guess it's time for us to go ahead and give our predictions for it. So what do you got?
All right. So
I'm making you order first at the restaurant.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I forgot to look at the menu, but let's see. Let's go with an old reliable here. Bielema in the past has just completely destroyed Nebraska teams, with the exception of that one win, which I'm pretty sure that was the last time we actually beat Wisconsin, was when he was coach. I think I remember that watching back the games. It's been a hot minute. Anyway, I think it's going to be around the 3rd quarter when they really start busting those plays. I think we do a good job the first half, keep it within a score or two. Our offense looks like it's clicking a little bit better in the first half than it has in the past couple games. They've gotten some of those scheme issues that they've come out of the halftime having perfected a little better. But I think the final score is going to be around 56-21, Illinois.
Wow. 2 weeks in a row, man. You predict a blowout. Well, I'll tell you, that's a prediction. I don't think it's going to come true. It didn't come true last time. That was a close game, no matter how you slice it against Purdue, and it's not going to come true this time. My thought process on this game is as follows. I think that Illinois is the type of team that, unless we're giving up big runs left and right, Melvin Gordon type game, I don't think they're going to be able to score 56 points on us in the time allotted. Meaning, like, they're a running offense. They're going to run the clock down.
I understand.
So I think it'll be very similar to the Purdue game, time of possession wise. I think they'll have 35 to 40 minutes time of possession, and we'll have between 17 to 25 minutes time of possession. And I think we'll be scoring quick. I hope we can establish the run. If we can establish the run, this game is completely different. But I'll say this. I believe we are due. I believe we are so due for a win like this. Illinois is ranked 17th. They're a top 25 team. I believe that the score will be 35-31 Nebraska. I believe Mickey Joseph will move to 3-2 as head coach, and I believe that Nebraska will get their first top 25 win since 2016 against Oregon. So that is my prediction. I hope it comes
Yeah,
true. I'm
yeah.
going to be there. My
Yeah,
other prediction,
yeah.
my other prediction is that it'll be dark enough and they'll just go ahead and do the light show.
I mean, it's a I guess a 2:30 game in Nebraska.
2:30.
It's getting dark around 5 now.
I mean, it's getting dark around, like, I've been tracking it. It's like getting sun real dark around like 5:45, 6 o'clock.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll see if it's a long game, which it's not going to be because Illinois is a running team.
Yeah.
Then we'll see. If it was against Ohio State, I'd be like, oh, this is going to be a long game.
Yeah.
But or maybe
yeah.
not. Maybe that's a bold
No.
claim.
Yeah. No, and I'm gonna. I know you talked about like they're not gonna be able to score that many points. The defense against a true like really good running team with a really good running back hasn't proven yet that they can stop it.
Right.
And that's where that comes from. Because remember Purdue's running back, that was his breakout show. He was just very average, and then he had a very, very good game against us. And Big Ten backs tend to do that against our defense, and that's where I think the 56 comes from. So
Yeah.
I did want to throw that out there.
That they do. You're right about that. And this game has that written all over it. I mean, it really kind of does. It really does. It has that written all over it. And that could happen. But I just think that Illinois is a good team, but they're not a great team. And I think they haven't played anybody yet because they really haven't. They lost to Indiana. Now, granted, every team changes week from week. These are young kids like we've talked about. And this Illinois team is probably completely different than the Illinois team that lost to Indiana.
Mhm.
But yeah, I think it's time. It's time.
Yeah.
And
No,
that's
I
really
agree.
just how I feel about it. It's just probability, the universe, and like energy and like space. And so that's what I'm basing it on.
Okay. Well, I think that's going to be it for us today on the Cornhusker Corner. Remember to follow us on Twitter. Like and subscribe on YouTube if you're watching. Follow us on Twitter. Follow us on Twitter at the Cornhusker_corner and on Instagram at Cornhusker Corner. Anything else?
Subscribe and like if you enjoy it. We enjoy doing it. And it's fun. I'm hoping for a win. We'll
It's always,
be able to do a
always more
game
fun to
wrap
do
up.
these. Always more fun to do these with a win. So
I'll bring a mic to Nebraska and we'll figure out if we want to do a game wrap up or not.
if
It'll
we
be no
win,
big- yeah. It'll be no
if we
big
win.
deal either way.
But all right. Always remember that there's no place like
This podcast.
this podcast.